why really is the government worried about rise in oil prices, and how probably it can counter the rise in oil prices so that it doesn't hurt the general public and, more importantly, the voters. Now, if you look at the scenario which has been presented, of course, this is from a CLSA report. Now, a cut of 4 rupees per litre, if you want to do it for diesel and petrol, that will cost the exchequer nearly 50,000 crores an annum. So that is the kind of revenue loss we are talking about, and this is the cut that the market probably is looking at as far as the diesel and fuel costs are concerned, which are clearly hurting the people on the ground, and more importantly, that is the one factor which can be responsible for high inflation or imported inflation. Now, what happens if crude remains over $80 per barrel? That clearly will impact the GDP by nearly 40 to 50 basis points. So increase in crude prices really hurts the gross domestic product. And what happens for every $10 rise in the price of crude per barrel, that impacts the current account deficit by 40 basis points. So that is a very hard impact, for every $10 rise in the price of crude per barrel. And what if crude stays above $80 per barrel? That will clearly impact the fiscal discipline. So the current account deficit can touch 3% of the total GDP if crude stays above $80 per barrel on an annual basis. So clearly that will not only hurt the economy, but also the government finances and also the general public. So that is the reason why probably the government is looking to counter the rise in crude prices. We also have ONGC, which is adversely impacted because it's recently acquired a 51% stake in HPCL. All of that was funded through debt, and these are the banks which lent to ONGC for funding that 35,000 plus crore acquisition of HPCL stake, which was to the tune of 51% from the government of India. Now, if you look at the valuations, mouth-watering valuations for a company like ONGC, that is factoring in or pricing in a valuation of close to $50 to $55 per barrel, despite the fact that we are almost around $80 per barrel on the crude. Why such a discount in valuation is simply to do with the fact that the market is fearing that the subsidy sharing mechanism or the harsh subsidy impact could see finances of ONGC get impacted adversely. And this is the kind of scenario analysis that CLSA has done for a crude which is at $40 per barrel to the crude which is at $70 per barrel plus. And this is the kind of impact that can have on government finances. Right now, the government is, put or set aside a 15,000 crore subsidy burden that it can bear on its own when it comes to the LPG and kerosene under recovery. But as soon as this figure moves up $70 per barrel on an average for FY19, that subsidy for under recovery in LPG and kerosene would move up to 40,000 crore, which means that if the government is looking at bearing 15,000 crores, the remainder 25,000 crores has to be borne by the oil marketing companies or ONGC or Oil India or all of them. So probably that is the reason why market was slightly panicky in trade yesterday. Shares of ONGC dipped as much as 10% in intraday trade.